All right, today we are digging into a fantastic case study. We're talking about BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, and how they completely flipped their AI development on its head. I mean, they went from taking months to build something to just a couple of days.
So, here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll get a handle on the insane data problem they're dealing with. Then, we'll look at what was slowing everything down, the big bottlenecks. After that, we'll dive into their super clever two-part solution, check out the amazing results, and wrap up with some key lessons that honestly, any company could use.
Okay, so to really get why their solution is so brilliant, you first have to understand the sheer scale of the problem. We're talking about a daily flood of information with literally trillions of dollars at stake. Yeah, and at its core, this wasn't just some small headache. This was a massive multi-million dollar problem. Think about it. When you're managing trillions of dollars, even the tiniest inefficiency isn't just a small mistake. It can have huge financial consequences. So, every single day, you've got these teams of portfolio managers and analysts just getting hammered by what they call a torrent of information. It's everything: market data, dense prospectuses, endless reports, and they have to somehow make sense of all of it to build investment strategies. It's just a constant, never-ending flood. So the whole process, simplified, looks kind of like this. You've got information coming in, the experts analyze it, they build a strategy, and then they make a trade. But here's the kicker, the big bottleneck. Getting the right custom tools to those experts so they can do that analysis part, well, that was the real challenge. Okay, so you're probably thinking, if the experts need custom AI tools, why not just, build them? Well, that's where things get really interesting. This is where we hit that core bottleneck, because building these things turned out to be way, way harder than you'd think. Let's look at a real-world example. You've got the new issue operations team. So after a company has an IPO, this team has to set up that new security inside all of BlackRock's systems. It's this super complex process that just screams for some kind of AI automation. But actually building that specific app, that's where they ran into some serious roadblocks. So the first big hurdle, prompt engineering. And listen, we're not talking about your simple one-line, write me a poem kind of prompts. To get an AI to understand a really complex financial document, the prompts themselves would swell up to be like 3 paragraphs long. Just crafting, testing, and keeping track of all these super detailed instructions for the AI, it was a huge time suck. All right, bottleneck number 2 was figuring out the right LLM strategy. I mean, do you use an approach like RAG, that's Retrieval Augmented Generation, which is great for pulling specific answers out of documents? Or do you need something more like Chain of Thought, which helps the AI kind of think through a problem step by step? When you're dealing with documents that could be 5 pages or 5,000 pages, figuring out the right approach was just endless, painful trial and error. And then, finally, you actually had to deploy the thing. And this wasn't your standard app deployment. AI brings its own special set of headaches. You had to ask, does this app need a massive GPU cluster, basically a supercomputer for the heavy lifting? Or would it be better on a burstable cluster that can quickly scale up and down for smaller jobs? Every single app was its own puzzle with its own unique infrastructure needs. So, you add all of those bottlenecks together, and what do you get? You get 8 months. 8 months to build one single custom AI app. And in the world of global finance, let me tell you, 8 months is an absolute eternity. So yeah, clearly that wasn't sustainable. Something had to change. And it did, in a big way. BlackRock came up with this really elegant 2-part framework that was designed to just smash through all these barriers and put the power to build AI directly into the hands of the experts themselves. And probably the best way to picture their solution is to think of it like a custom AI kitchen. The entire setup is designed to empower the financial experts, we'll call them the chefs, to cook up their own tools without needing to be, a 5-star cordon bleu programmer. This kitchen basically has 2 main stations. On one side, you've got the sandbox. Think of this as the chef's prep station. It's a playground where the experts can mess around with prompts, with different AI strategies, using real documents until they get it just right. And once they've perfected their recipe, they pass it over to the app factory. This is like the high-tech automated oven. It takes that perfected recipe and just, boom, instantly bakes a production-ready application. So this idea of separating the experts' creative work from all the technical deployment stuff, it sounds great on paper, right? But what was the actual real-world impact? Well, let me just say the results were absolutely staggering. Just remember where we started. Remember this number,
8 long months. That was 8 months of painful manual work, 8 months of delayed insights, 8 months that a mission-critical tool was not in the hands of the people who desperately needed it.
Now, with this new sandbox and app factory system, that entire 8-month nightmare was crushed down to just 2 days. I mean, that's not just an improvement, it's a monumental leap forward.
And here's what that looks like in practice. Day 1, the experts are in the sandbox, just going to town, rapidly testing and perfecting their logic. Then, Day 2, that perfected recipe gets sent over to the app factory, which does all the boring technical heavy lifting. It builds, tests, and deploys the final app, all automatically. Done.
Now, BlackRock's story is obviously incredible, but it's not just about one giant company. Let's kind of zoom out for a second and pull out the universal lessons here, because really any organization trying to scale up its AI game can learn from this. Okay, first lesson. Give your experts the tools to solve their own problems. They're the ones who actually know what's broken. Second, you have to invest in prompt engineering skills for those experts. It really is a critical new kind of literacy. Third, get the whole organization educated on the different LLM strategies so everyone's speaking the same language. And last but not least, always look at the ROI. Sometimes an off-the-shelf tool is good enough. You don't need to custom build everything. But maybe the single most important takeaway, and this is a direct quote from the team, is to design for human in the loop first. You have to, especially in a super regulated world like finance. Having that expert oversight isn't just a nice to have, it's non-negotiable. You need it for compliance, for trust, and for basic accuracy. The goal isn't always 100% automation.
And this all leaves us with a pretty mind-blowing final thought. A framework like this doesn't just solve one business problem, it really creates a whole new way of working. So the real question is, when you give the power to build AI to the people who understand the problems most deeply, what are they going to solve next? What currently impossible challenges are suddenly going to become possible?